Hello, hello, and today I want to show you 3 different weaves. I will start with the tower or pyramid weave. I'm going to go on to show you the zigzag weave, and then I'm going to finish off with, for lack of anything better to call it, a plant weave. But to start with, I want to show you this tower weave. Again, I've got my 14 gauge wires. If you're having trouble keeping these base wires straight, then by all means start with a 14 or 16 gauge base wire here. I've got a 24 gauge weave wire because I want you to be able to see it, but please don't use a 24 gauge weave wire. You should be using a 26 or even a 28 gauge weave wire if you're having trouble keeping your base wires straight and not bending them as you work. So again, you got to start your weave out by coiling it 3 times. It's kind of a minimum. The reason that you do that is that it kind of ties the knot to start, and anything less than 3 can pull out really easily. Even 3 can pull out really easily. So 3 is kind of a minimum. I'll just do this again to reestablish it. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to pull those coils off if you want to. Okay, so my tower weave, I'm going to bring one more base wire in to start, and I'm going to do a double tower weave. I'm going to do 2, and I'm going to come back around the bottom. Then I'm going to add one more base wire, and I'm just going to go over all 3 of those 1, 2 times. Ending back at the bottom, squish that closer together. Let's twist this one around so I've got some gap there. All right, we are ready for another base wire. Let's stick this in here. And I'm going to go over all 4 of these. Now, one of the reasons you do want to start with a really thick base wire, especially for this weave, is because we're wrapping over so many wires, it's really easy to lose this gap, especially down in this bottom space. Because the last thing we've had to space is way over here. And I've still got one more base wire. So all that means for you is that when you do these wraps, don't pull super tight. Bring it to the top edge, fold it around. But you don't want to be pulling on this because you're going to lose those gaps. So let's do a second time. There, now that's as tall as my tower is going to get because that's all of my base wires. So now I'm folding it around the bottom because I don't want to pull. Come in the next lower gap here and down around the bottom. Push everything tight. I got a kink in my wire starting here, so I got to make sure I get that out. All right, so I've got 2 there, so let's go to the next one and make 2 a little bit shorter. There we go. And then we need our bottom one. And if you've been pulling and you've lost any amount of gap, it's going to show up when you get down to the bottom here because you've pushed this gap down. And now, if you don't have very much of a gap here, you're not going to get this tight in there. So this can be a challenging one because of that. I'm going to use my nylon gel pliers to kind of squish this whole thing flat. But let's see if I can reestablish this gap here. There we go. I think I got it tucked in. So that's my first kind of pyramid tower. Now it's up to you how much you want to space these out. You can put like a whole bunch of coils in between. I usually do a minimum of 2 or 3. I like 3 myself. But if you wanted to put 10 in here, that's totally fine and totally up to you depending on your design. So I'll do this one more time just so you can see. I want to go over 2. Oops, there we go. And now you don't want to pull this gap tight. You want that gap to stay in there. So just fold it around the bottom over the next one. And you kind of got to be careful not to pull too hard with these. All right, there's those 2. I need this next step up. And one more step up. Oops. Alright. Down the bottom. Try not to... I've still got a gap there, so I'm still looking good, but I still have a long way to go before I get back down to the bottom. So there's those top two. The next one. So be careful you don't pull this weave wire, or you're gonna lose your gaps. I know I keep saying that, but with this weave, that's gotta be your focus. One in there, one in there. Push that tight. I'm down to my double one. I feel like I've lost. Even with these thick 14 gauge wires, I still tend to lose this last gap. So let's do this here and see if we can get this bottom one in. Okay, so got to tighten that up. How about some focus? There we go. Really doesn't want to go, and that's because I kind of lost that gap and I have to re-establish it. I actually don't do this weave very often because of this. You can also squish this whole pyramid, but let's see if I can move this over any farther. There, that's looking better. Reestablish this last gap in here. Do a couple more coils. I'm just grabbing my wire in my fingers here so that I can get a good strong pull. There's my 3 coils, but let's get them looking nice. I've got a little gap here because my wire was going on a diagonal, and when I straightened it out, there's a little extra length. So I'm going to pull really hard and see if I can't get rid of that extra slack. It's still there. That looks a little better. I've managed to kind of coil it around and press it down with my pliers. Oh, I pulled so hard I broke that. There you go. If you break your wire, the best thing you're going to want to do, this is a great learning opportunity. It's broken right in there. You can either leave it, that's actually a really nice break. I can't feel that wire end at all. So you can either leave it like that, or you can uncoil it. A coil, which I would recommend. And in fact, I'm going to uncoil it 2 coils. Let's see if I can get this back up through here. All right, so if I had to finish this and continue on with my wire, I'm going to, let's just untangle this. Okay, so my broken wire end is coming out the back here. I want to take my new wire end and put it in the same gap, which is this guy down here. Same gap as the broken one's coming out of. I kind of just bend it over to hold it. There's a little tail there. And now I'm going to just coil around 2 more times because I took those out. So I've got 1 coil, and this will be my other 2 to make my 3 coils. Whoops. Hang on. Let's get that back on there. That's how you know it's too soon to cut off your tail. So now I'm going to just keep weaving as if nothing has happened. So I'm going to go up to continuing on with my little pyramid pattern here. Down the bottom, up the second one again. Now I need to make my 3 high step. Squishing it all together. My 4 high step. squishing it all together. And then my last one. If your wire breaks somewhere up here, which is a lot less likely, but if it does happen, you're going to have to take out all of this stitching back down to this coil. You definitely want to attach your new wire down at that coil. Alright, so now I'm folding. I don't want to pull tight. Down here, second one on that step. Next step with 3. We've got one more double step. And now we're down to our coiling, and I still have a little bit more of a gap this time. That's looking better. That's even sucking right in. Okay, so I've gone on and I've just continued weaving as if I didn't have a break in my wire, which is what you want to do for a while. Really establish that that wire's not going anywhere. But now you have to come back and deal with these cut ends. So I am going to just pull on both of them really tightly to make sure there's no slack or anything like that. Now I just come in with my flush cutters and I'm going to cut off pretty close, as close as I can. Actually, that's really long. Get another little bit off of there. I'm going to get in as close as I can here. Now, you do want, I like my bent nose pliers so you can see what I'm doing here. Focus. There we go. Okay, so now you can see my cut ends right in here. And I'm just going to grab them and wrap them around one of my wires. It doesn't matter really which way you wrap them, but you should be able to run your finger over them when you're done and not feel any pokey bits. And I'm hoping I can just, slide this over enough that this gap isn't going to be super noticeable. Cool. Alright, so from here I want to work on a zigzag weave, which you don't run into this problem as much, and so I actually find a little bit easier. Although you do switch directions. This one we're always going the same direction around our base wire, and the next weave I'm going to show you is the zigzag weave, and you do have to switch directions as you switch directions that you're moving, but I'll show you that when we get there. So I hope that's clear. That was our first intro on how to fix a broken wire. I hope that was clear. Keep watching and I'll show you the zigzag weave. So because when you've got your finished zigzags, you only actually see the end weave on the edge here, I really like how it looks when you've got 3 wraps on each of these. I find if you just have 1 or 2, it just feels a bit flimsy to me. So I have done my 3rd wrap here, and I am going to come around the back and up in between my wires, pulling it tight, and now I'm going to continue working in this direction because that's the way my zigzag is going to start out going. So my next, let me just make some space in here. My next one is going to cross the 2 top wires here. Oops. So that's going to come like that, and then up in between your first and second wire, and then down around, and I'm just going to do 2 here, so I'm going to go up in between those 2 wires and back up. Now I'm ready for 1 more wire. Bring that in there, and I just want to sew across these top 2 now. So around the top, up through there. Oh, I keep bumping that, I'm sorry. Around the top, and now up through between the last 2. I've got 1 more wire here. I find this looks funny with just 4. You know, this particular weave does look better with 5 or more wires. You can do it with just 4 though, so don't let that stop you. All right, so now this is my last wire, so I'm going to put 3 wraps around the end. And this is my last wrap, so I'm going to come up in between. Now this is the point where you actually change directions. Until now I've been going kind of this way around my wires. And right now I need to switch directions, and the reason why is before these were all traveling up in this direction. But now I'm at the end and I need to switch directions and bring my next one down. So that's why we change directions right at this point. So I'm folding it over and I'm going to wrap it over these 2 wires. So I'm just getting a kink down here I want to get out. All right. So switching directions, I'm going this way now around my wires, coming up here and then down. This is my second wrap, so I can come up in between those 2 wraps. There. Now I'm going to move down to the next 2, so the middle one and the next one, the bottom one next to it. If there's some gap there, pull it tight. Not like tight so they're touching, but tight so there's just the right amount of space between them, and the right amount of space is the thickness of your weave wire. All right, let's squish everything up there, and I'm ready to do my last one around the bottom. So because I'm at the bottom, I like to do 3. That's not written in stone. If you want to keep this simple and just do 2 wraps on all of them, or say 3 wraps on all of them, that's fine too. Okay, I'm at the bottom here. Before I was going to keep going in this direction, but because I'm not going down this way anymore, I'm gotta go back up this way. I actually switched directions right here and bring this over the middle wire instead of the edge one. So I'm going to cross over these 2 wires. So right there, come on, and then up here, down, and then up in the middle of those 2. There we go. And continue in the same direction. There. If you find you're looking at some of these weaves and you're like, that's super confusing, try it first of all. Go step by step with me as we do this. And if you're just not getting it, then you'll probably have better luck with one of the other weaves. So don't worry if this one is confusing, come back to it. With the direction switching, it can be a little bit confusing. All right, I'm ready to switch directions again. That's why I haven't gone up this way with my wire. I've switched directions and I've got to come down this way. In between, I got to go over these 2. Second one, up in between them. So down to the next step here. Around the bottom I want to do 3. There's 2, and there's 3. Now I switch directions, so I got to go back up this way. Notice I'm always squeezing these together to keep these peaks nice and squished and tall. So that's a zigzag weave. I can do it one more time for you. If you run out of room on your base wires, a little bit of twisting helps to pull them out. It's always good to do this as you work, and you're going to feel at some points that some of these get stiffer, and when they start to get really stiff you want to move these into position, and then you have to weave a little farther around some base wires. This one does slide pretty good though, so you don't have to worry about that for now. But I'll just take you through these motions one more time so you can see them. There, now you can see them. Up in between. There we go. And now 3rd and 4th wires. There. There. And now in between them. Squishing them all together. I'm ready to go around the end. Around the end, that's the 3rd one up in between. This is the point, remember, you switch directions. So instead of going up, I'm going to go down. And here. Now step down around these two, second time, and then up in between them. And there you go. Last one. All right, so that's our zigzag pattern. This is a really fun one. I find it's a popular weave. It looks really nice. I really like actually that you can see the base wires in between the weave. It adds some consistent feeling to the whole thing. While I'm here, I also want to show you, I don't know what the best name for this weave is. I like to call it the plant weave, just for lack of anything better to call it. I do see this on the internet all the time, so I just want to show you real quick how to do this one. I happen to have put 3 wires in between these pokey bits on either side. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 5. Again, these are decisions you need to make for yourself. Also, these coils in between, actually space these out, and the number of coils is going to be up to you too, depending on how much space you want between these pillars. All right, so let me just get some more base wires out here so that I can show you how to do this one. There we go, something to work with. Okay, so I'm going to start with my coiling to leave the gap in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say. And then you squish them together and you'll be surprised that 10 coils actually isn't very much space. There we go. So you can do 15 coils. The only thing is that you want to do the same number of coils consistently between each of these towers. But I mostly want to show you how to do these towers in between. I just want to make some minor bends here in my base wires, creating a little bit of space so that I can find these gaps easier. That feels better. Okay, so coming around this way, let's bring it up over that second one and down and up, because I actually want to change directions. All right, so from here I'm going to change directions. Now I want to go over my second and my third wire just one time. See what's going on here, and up in between them, making a single double stitch. A single double stitch, does that make sense? All right, so I'm coming up right in here, so I want to go over the third and the fourth wire here. Just like that, and then come up in between them. Oops, in between them, there we go. And now go over the last one and come up in between them. There we go. And now I want to push this over so it's kind of standing straight up. If you don't have very strong fingernails, you very well may need some pliers to do this, but it will stand straight up so that it's like at 90 degrees from your base wires. From here, to show you today, I'm just going to do 1 wrap in between. So you pull it tight down the back and up the front. And then just to match, I'm going to do a single wrap around the top. And now I'm going to go down, and I want to make my first double wrap here. Now I'm moving in the opposite direction, and I actually need to come out down here. So I'm going to go over 3 wires in the back to come up in between my second and third wires here. You'll never see that one. And now I'm going to make my second kind of leaf right here like this. When it pushes over, it looks better. And now I got to jump down 3 at the back again, coming up here, and then I go up 2 to make my third double stitch. And now I got to jump down 3 in the back, come down around the bottom, make my last double stitch here, let's just squish that all together so you can see what that looks like. Once it's all squished together, doesn't that look nice? It's kind of got a plant with a stem in the middle. It reminds me of like wheat or something. I don't know. That's just me. So from here, you would coil. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, you can make these any number of coils you want, but do count them so they're consistent. Now, you're going to start another one. That kind of focus there, so we want to make a long kind of double stitch. So I got to go up to the next one and up in between them. Now I'm stepping up right away, so between the third and the fourth one, and then up between the second and third one. And now down between the fourth and fifth one, and up between the third and fourth, and then over the end, and then I did just get a coil around here. So let's straighten this out because it's not straight. This kind of just ends up a little bit crooked when you weave it, so let's straighten it out. We're ready to go all the way around here and back to make a coil around the top. And now I want to jump down 3. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to jump down 2. I still need my first one up here. Now I got to jump down 3. And come up to this guy here. And jump down 3. Go up 2. Jump down 3. Go up 2. From here, I will do more coiling, but let's squish this together. So it's kind of a cool looking weave, and you end up, bring this one back in, with kind of these towers all the way around. So this is another great weave that shows off your base wires. The one thing about this, I was saying this one has 3 of the full wraps around all your wires, and this one just has the 1. If you do more than about 3 wraps around all of your base wires, if you don't have 14 gauge base wires, these ones aren't doing it to show you, but it's really easy to start sucking these base wires in, and then you lose this gap, and you're going to find that as you work down the other side, you're going to have trouble getting everything tight because you've started to lose these gaps. So I recommend that you don't go more than 3 of these middle wires to start with. In fact, stick with 1 or 2, and that's going to treat you a lot better because you're not going to lose these gaps between your base wires that allow you to get everything super tight. So there, that's 2 weaves. We've done the zigzag weave, and this, I don't know, for lack of a better thing to call it, I call it a plant weave. So I hope that's fairly clear. I hope you can see that clearly. I am going to make some more videos on some more weaves because there's so many weaves, and the more weaves you know, the more you're going to be like, what if I did this and what if I did that? And then you start inventing your own weaves, which is a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.